Back here on the Rich Eisen Show, Susie Schuster in for Rich Eisen, and I am so delighted to introduce to you my dear friend of over 25 years, Jeffrey Ross.
What's up, Double S?
Hi, babe.
Great to see you.
I have to say, Rich was so jealous that you were coming in to promote your movie and talk about your one-man show when I was sitting in the chair, and I was selfish. I was like, yeah, but I want him all to myself.
This is a tradition that you and I have.
I like that.
I wait till Rich has to go somewhere, and then I'm like, can I come on the show?
You alluded to something wild happening in the movie, and didn't see that coming, by the way.
I get roofied.
Well,
I don't want to give it all away, but I get roofied. You don't see a lot of rabbis get roofied in a mainstream movie.
Also, the last time I checked, you don't want your rabbi roofied when they're around some manhood issues.
I'm about to perform a circumcision, and I accidentally get roofied in the movie, and it goes off the rails from there. And, man, we laughed a lot on set. We had a real baby there. So for me, it was a real thrill because I love Pete Farrelly and Jermaine Fowler, Andrew Santino, William H. Macy, John Cena, and Zac Efron. So I was just having so much fun just being around it all. And I think my scene, it's an 18-minute scene. It's one of the more wild parts of the movie. I can't wait to, roll one up and watch this one with my friends.
Jeffrey Ross here on the Rich Eisen Show. Susie Schuster in for Rich Eisen.
Susie.
Hi, Jeffrey.
You look like Julia Roberts. Ooh,
I do?
Very movie star today.
You're making my day.
Yeah.
I mean, you usually see me with sweatpants on and a ponytail.
Feeding the dog, but this is good.
I know. We have to have Nipsey over very soon, please.
Yeah, she asked about you.
What'd she say?
She said, how's that lady Susie with all the treats and those two crazy dogs?
Yeah, so she knows me. She knows me very, very well. Hey, what's more fun for you? Does it feel that much different doing something where you've got scripting and you're following the rules versus when you go out on a stage and anything is impossible or anything's possible in front of you?
That's a good question. I think I like being able to jump around and do both. Like stand up, being on stage, obviously it's my first love. It's my hobby that turned into my life's mission. But every now and then you get a call going, there's a really funny part. They wrote it just for you or they want you to do it. And I'll do it. And not that often, but when I do it, it's really fun because I don't have to worry about writing it and creating it. I can just kind of show up and be funny. And, when Peter Farrelly, it was interesting, Susie, because I was about to leave for Australia, New Zealand for a month on tour with Dave Chappelle. And when Peter Farrelly texted me, I was looking at the routing in Australia and New Zealand, and I'm reading Pete's text. And it was a long text, and my heart kind of sank because I was like, here I am getting a movie offer from Peter Farrelly to work with John Cena and Zac Efron, and I'm probably not going to be able to do it because then I look a little closer at the offer, and it says Melbourne on these dates. And then I look back at the routing for Chappelle's tour, and it's in Melbourne. I'll be in Melbourne on those days. And it was like a 1 in a billion. I thought I was getting pranked. And it wound up working out perfectly where the whole cast and crew came to see me perform in Australia. And then a day later, here I am on set dressed as a rabbi.
I mean, that has to be karma because anybody wants to work with Peter, right? He's one of the all-time great directors and the funniest. The cast is incredible. And yet you're just casually going to Sydney with Dave Chappelle, arguably, one of the most impactful speakers and orators and teachers of our time. I mean, that's crazy good karma for you, Jeffrey.
I got to do it all. And man, sometimes show business can be really hard, but sometimes it just works out.
What was the surprise in this movie that you had the most fun doing, that maybe a person or who was it that surprised you?
Oh, you know what? John Cena steals a lot of the scenes that he's in. And I hadn't met him. I'd met him briefly around wrestling, just as a fan, but I hadn't known him as an actor. And he was so prepared. And then beyond that, took the material to another level of just hilarity. He plays a crazy, he's dressed like Britney Spears in this movie. He's running around singing Boy George songs in his underwear. He plays this crazy alcoholic trying to straighten his life up. And there's just joke after joke. I think about JPMs when I watch something like this, the jokes per minute, and they're just coming. But then, we had some long days, and I got to just sit and eat lunch with William H. Macy, who ends up being like the coolest laid-back dude ever, like a real artist. And, of course, I got to be friends with Zack Efron, who I'm in love with.
And I think that you may have broken the internet when you were posting a selfie of you and him, and people are like, what the hell's going on here?
He has no shirt on holding my dog on my Instagram. Zach's a sweetheart. He's, he's this beautiful specimen of human being, but on the inside, he's just this little menschy kind of nerdy kid who just wants to be loved, and he's always caring about his friends, and we've since gone on vacation together a couple times, and he's a wonderful guy. The one fun thing about acting that you don't get in stand-up is stand-up, you're kind of out there with maybe one other person or by yourself, but when you're on set, suddenly you're surrounded by all these funny people, and chances are you're one of the funnier people because, actors.
Actors. Ricky Stanicky available for streaming on Prime Video next week on March 7th. I mean, did they ask you to punch up jokes? I wonder. You mentioned that Cena does a lot of weird things, and his music set that he chooses, what he does sounds pretty original in Atlantic City. I don't want to give it away, but let's just say...
he's like a dirty joke musical. I keep giving stuff away because the movie's so funny, I don't think it matters.
It's nice to laugh again. Like, I feel like I don't want to go see a movie about a zombie or something depressing. Like, it's like very fairly, like, and I say this with the ultimate of compliments.
Yeah.
It's stupid funny. Because you're laughing because it's so ridiculous, right? It's nice to laugh.
I got to watch a pre-screening in a room full of comedy fans, and the movie just murders. So people watching at home on Amazon next week are going to really laugh their butts off. And it's fun. It's fun having something new come out that's not stand-up. I kind of enjoy being able to talk about a movie. It's exciting.
Are we going to see more acting from you?
I hope not. I don't like getting up early in the morning. Comedy's great. I can show up at 10 o'clock at night and rip the roof off the hell. Once a year to do something like this is really fun. I'm acting in my new one-man show, which is more of a dramatic piece. So I guess I'm warmed up for that.
So let's talk about that, because I can't wait to go see it in May. And we're going to share all of the tour dates with you guys.
Thank you.
Both on our social media, and we'll keep talking about it here on The Rich Eisen Show. Susie Schuster in for Rich Eisen. Jeffrey Ross joins me here. And the show is called Take a Banana for the Ride.
Yes.
What the hell is that?
When I was a young comic starting out in New Jersey, I would take care of my grandfather, who had all this old man stuff wrong with him. I'd lost my parents as a young man, and he'd lost his wife, and we were just two single guys living together. I was starting my comedy career, and my grandfather was living with me. And I would take him to the doctor all day. And then at night, I would go into New York and do open mics. And my grandfather would always give me a few dollars for gas and tolls and a banana. He'd say, take a banana for the ride. I said, oh, I'll be fine, Pop. No, you never know. You could get stuck in traffic, whatever. In a pinch, you could use it as a dildo. I don't know. But it was his way of saying, I can't go with you, but I'm there with you on the ride. Yeah. And the show kind of takes off from there, talking about all the people that made me who I am. And I did this show, Susie. I did this show as a young man in the 90s. After my grandfather passed away, I did this show at a bunch of festivals in the comedy world. And it was emotional for me. I couldn't really deal with it. So I put it away for decades. And then not too long ago, I lost 3 great buddies. The comedy world lost 3 great buddies within 8 months. Norm Macdonald, Bob Saget, and Gilbert Gottfried. His birthday's this week. And it made me look back at the old show and think about some of the themes of resilience and bouncing back, and when people mourn, and how I dealt with that as a young man. And I kind of tied it all together into a new idea and a new show. And I'm going to be in New Jersey at the Count Basie Performing Arts Center next week. I'll be in Norwalk, Connecticut next week, kind of putting it up for the first time as a full, dramatic, musical, one-man performance.
And then you've got Austin, Texas.
We're going to do 3
April
nights at the Moon Tower
12th.
Comedy Festival in Austin at Moon Tower, and then I'm going to hit the South. So it's a cathartic experience. I want people to come. If you're going through something, challenges in your life, this is the show to see. I talk about my dog, losing my dog in the show. None of it gets so sad. There's movies in the show. I try to make it a cathartic, comedic, communal experience for everybody who comes out.
You know, we were together when the world lost Bob Saget.
Yeah.
How has losing these 3 so recently changed you as a comedian?
Man, well, I look at the pictures of me and Bob and Norm and Gilbert, and I go, how am I the one that sticks around to tell the story? I feel lucky that I got to know those guys. Those 3 guys were besties. I would just sit back and watch them make each other laugh. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this show, Take a Banana for the Ride, is because keeping their names alive is really important to me. Because I know if I was gone, they would do that for me. And Bob showed love. Bob would always tell you he loved you at the end of every conversation. And I wish everyone a friend like Bob in their lives. And these are the guys who made me who I am. And the show's about some women who made me who I am in my life. And even some of the great stories of resilience and bouncing back that I had to deal with as a young man. And Bob always said, do what's good for you. He always gave you positive advice, positive energy. So losing Bob is something that I still have trouble getting my head around, talking about. You know, comics were like a tribe. When we lose a tribal member, it hurts for a long time. But it's important to keep telling his jokes and keep his memory alive.
What was your favorite Bob Saget joke?
Oh, my God. There's no way I could tell it on here.
Where's the bleeper? Come on. Where's the bleeper?
There's no way. There's no way. That is all YouTubeable. If I did that, you would throw me out. But,
it'd be so fun. Just try. We're on tape. Come
really?
on.
Oh, he would always say, every time we sat down at a restaurant, he would imitate the waiter saying, the specials today are cake and cock, and we're out of cake.
You're welcome, Roku. See what we do here?
You know, a dog. He closed his show with a whole concert with playing guitar with a song called My Dog Licked My Balls."
Yeah,
which fun for the whole family.
And, it's so funny. You say Bob would say, "Do what's best for you," and he always did what was best for other people.
Yeah,
I mean, he was the most generous man with time. I remember when I tore my ACL.
Yeah,
he and Johnny Silverman came to hang out with me as I was trying to rehab, and he was trying to show some love, but also seeing a really hot chick out the door. And he obsessed the whole time on the girl who plugged the meter in front of him and wrote a letter to some girl who I don't even know if he ever found her or not, but he literally would pace the room. And he was just telling joke after joke because he wanted to make me laugh and forget about how much pain I was in.
Yeah.
Right? He was so generous.
He was the best at cheering people up. And him and Gilbert would do emails to each other just to make each other laugh, and they all both worship Norm, and I know that Norm and Bob were working on a script for another Dirty Work movie when they died. So it was a big loss, and all the resiliency that you could muster is what it took for me to get through all that, and then look back and go, okay, I think I have enough wisdom over this to help other people. And that's what the Take a Banana show is really about, kind of getting through life, bouncing back, and making something positive out of the pain.
Oh, that's so fantastic. What about a Norm joke? Give me
Oh, my God. Norm was the
favorite
best.
Norm joke.
Norm would say, and I do some of these in the show, so if you're a fan of Norm's, you'll really dig the show. I do tribute to Gilbert, Norm, and Bob in the show and play some film and show some pictures of those guys. Norm would always say, one of my favorites was, daylight savings time. I give it 6 months.
So dry.
So easy and just so funny. And there's probably a million others that I'm not thinking of right now. And I always feel like I can never do them justice. But there's one story I tell in the show about opening for Norm. as a young comic. One of my first ever gigs was opening for Norm at Catch a Rising Star in Princeton, New Jersey. Norm wasn't really famous. This was a long time ago. He was just this quirky underground comic from Canada. And here he was at this comedy club. And he was just... He bombed. It was 7 shows, Susie. He probably bombed 4 of them. Whenever he killed,
sounds about right.
We would go backstage and play poker until the next show. But whenever he bombed, for reasons I still don't quite understand, Norm would go to the exit and say goodbye to each customer as they left. This is weird, awkward conversation he would have with every single person. I don't know if he was trying to make me laugh. I don't know what he was doing. He was always one step ahead of me and everyone else.
And what about Gilbert? Because I feel like I don't want to shortchange him by not asking you about what might have been your favorite joke from him.
Gilbert, his jokes were jazz riffs. He would be so funny in the moment. One of the most fun things, he showed up at our Bumping Mike show in Long Island. Dave Attell and I brought him out on stage, and Gilbert hadn't smoked weed in like 30 years. So I was like, Gilbert, just come out on stage. I'll light a joint. I'll get you high on stage, and we'll just see what happens. And I got him high, and he just stood on a stool and watched the rest of the show laughing. He didn't say another word. So just his laugh, his ha, 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 just reverberating through this theater of thousands of people would just make us laugh. And if you're ever in the mood to laugh, pull up episode with Gilbert Gottfried and Bob Saget of Bumping Mics on Netflix, and you'll see Gilbert at his finest. I really, truly love that guy. I talked to Dara, his wife, and his kids, Lily and Max, all the time. They're 3 of my dearest friends. We just spent some time on vacation together over New Year's. And Gilbert, great guy, great dad, great husband, great family man. And I want to, in this one-man show, to kind of show the other side of these guys, the family side, the personal side, not just, the crazy comic that we love.
Well, I think that's exactly what I was wondering.
Yeah.
Because I only know, Bob obviously we knew well, but I never met Gilbert Gottfried. I grew up seeing him. I could only see what he was like on the stage. And it's always kind of fascinating to know what people are like off.
His kids, he raised them just enough. He got them over the finish line of being great kids. And his wife, Dara, is one of my best friends, and they are really keeping his legacy alive. Dara's talking about doing a new album of Gilbert stuff she found, and just this morning I posted a picture of Gilbert for his birthday, and immediately I go, what's your favorite Gilbert moment? And usually you'll see the same thing over and over. In Gilbert's case, 100 comments will have 100 answers. He really made an impact on people, whether it was the Aristocrats or the Problem Child movies, or his Howard Stern appearances, or his stand-up appearances, or his appearances on the Comedy Central roast. Like, it goes on and on and on until you're just like, wow, this guy really left a body of work that people are going to remember. And he broke through. He didn't just, what's it called, the envelope, pushing the envelope. He would take that envelope, he would rip it up and wipe his butt with it. Like, he didn't care. He was fearless. And that's one of the things I loved about Gilbert, is that he was fearless.
Susie Schuster in for Rich Eisen on The Rich Eisen Show. Jeffrey Ross is my guest. How did you become the Roastmaster General? How did it go from just being a comedian out there pushing stand-up to realizing that I've got a niche here and this is going to be amazing?
Wow. I got asked to do the roast. And being from Jersey, that was kind of in my blood. When you grow up in Jersey, like me, Newark, Union, and Springfield, back then, everybody thinks that they're an expert in busting chops. It's kind of like what we do. It's how we show love. It's so true. Right? You guys know. Any so Jersey true. People here?
Come on, right here.
Where?
Livingston.
Oh, my God. I lost my virginity in Livingston. Christmas Eve one year. All the Jews got together for Chinese food, and we lost our virginities. So, that's how we talk, and that's how we develop our thick skin. And, there was this one bully that roamed the halls of my high school, and he would jump out of lockers and smash people right in the crotch. And he got me one time, and I was down on the floor in pain, and I go through this entire sequence very dramatically in the Take a Banana for the Ride show, and I realized I couldn't beat this kid up, so I stood up and shook it off and started insulting him. And by demeaning the bully, by taking the bully down with insults, I was able to neutralize him, where he was no longer a bully that bothered me, by humiliating him. And I think the fun of that and the excitement of being able to defend myself with words, with jokes, made me sort of invincible. And I think that's really how I became the Roastmaster.
I don't think many people know this. I mean, the reason why we know you is because you approached Rich or saw him somewhere. I don't remember what exactly what was, but okay, tell us exactly.
Well, finish your question. How did I meet Rich?
No, it was more like just sharing with the audience, you know, it came because of the Hefner roast post 9/11.
I was on the street working on jokes for the roast of Hugh Hefner, which would have been 3 weeks after 9/11. So, of course, you're in New York. The place, everyone's walking around like this. There's ash in the air. There's a feeling of desperation. There's a feeling of death. I mean, what is it? It's the worst tragedy in New York history is happening all around us. And as a comic, I'm like, we can't cancel. Then the terrorists win. It wasn't a cliche back then. You had to, the show must go on. The roast must go on. So I wrote a letter to Hugh Hefner, and let's face it, he was the reason the terrorists hated us, like free speech and sex and all that stuff. And I wrote a letter to the Friars Club, and I said, please, let's keep, instead of doing an after party, let's have a big fundraiser afterwards for the Twin Towers Fund. And Comedy Central was down, and I was working on my jokes just like any other roast, just road testing everything in the clubs, make sure I had a lot of good jokes about Hugh Hefner. I said, you know why Hugh Hefner has 7 girlfriends? One to put it in and the other 6 to move him around. Hey, you asked for it.
I did.
And then outside one of the clubs, when I was preparing, I see this guy that I kind of recognize from TV. It's this little cute, pudgy Rich Eisen. I go, here's a nice, sweet Jewish guy who understands comedy. I said, Rich, nice to meet you. I'm Jeff Ross. I've seen you on SportsCenter. You're great. He's like, oh, I know you, Jeff Ross. I saw you roast Drew Carey and this and that. And we started talking. I go, hey, what are you doing next week? Do you have a tuxedo? He goes, yeah, I can find a tuxedo, which is a weird thing to ask somebody in the wake of 9/11. But I said, you know what? We're gonna get dressed up. We're gonna celebrate life. We're gonna celebrate free speech. We're gonna do something patriotic. We're gonna roast this publishing mogul, Hugh Hefner, that we all know that we're going to have lots of great jokes about, and it'll be a release for New Yorkers, a release in the tension of what's been going on. And he understood that. He said, yeah, I'm coming. I said, I got your seat on the dais, big guy. And Rich and I have been friends ever since.
He almost passed out.
Yeah.
He called me. He's like, you're not going to believe what just happened.
Were you boyfriend and girlfriend back then, or were you married in 2001?
We were just friends,
maybe?
Just friends. Just friends.
You were still making them chase you at that point. I think.
Yeah,
Really?
just friends.
Yeah.
We were just friends.
What?
Wait a minute. Hold on. 2001. When did we get married?
03.
Remember, you're asking us.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
This is the
We
saddest
were
thing I've
dating.
ever seen. How do you not know if you were married on 9/11?
We weren't married. I was out here, and he was in New York, and he called me, and he said, you're not going to believe what just happened. He's like, the craziest thing just happened. I'm going to be on the dais. He's like, but because Rich is he's a failed stand-up comedian. All he wanted to do was be a stand-up comedian. And so meeting you was like, and being exposed to those people on the dais, it was probably one of the best nights of his life. I'm not joking.
I won't let you call him he's an evolved stand-up comedian.
I have so many more questions for you. Okay.
Failed means it means that he works, a job that he doesn't love.
True.
But he used comedy to take him to a new place.
What do we not know about Dave Chappelle that you know so well? Only because I've been so moved by listening to him in the few times that we've been together.
Well, Dave is a very empathetic person. He has a tattoo that says human on his arm. And I always think he goes to the human side of himself before anything else. And he doesn't have a mean bone in his body. Everybody, his comedy is thoughtful. He's not just saying things to say them. And he's a great dad and a great husband and a great friend. You talk about 9/11. We spent 9/11 together. His wife Elaine and their son Sully and Dave were outside my apartment at 300 Mercer Street on the day. And I when the first tower fell, I ran out to get sandwiches and cash because I had a feeling people might be evacuating Lower Manhattan and coming up towards Greenwich Village. So I ran out and I got whatever I could get from the grocery stores before they sold out. And I came home in 15 minutes and I saw Dave with Elaine and a baby stroller covered in white ash. I was like, wow, this makes us friends for life. This is a real bonding thing here. And we were friends. We'd already been very good friends. So Dave is, beyond that big celebrity, he's got a mensch of a heart.
Nice. Before we go, the Brady roast is coming up.
Yeah, baby.
And that is,
are you psyched?
That is on May 5th.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, is
in
that
Los
a good
Angeles.
target?
The greatest roast of all time.
Can you believe it?
Has there ever been a roast that people are more up your craw with than the one with Tom Brady?
Tom is a great target, and what it really shows is that if a 7-time Super Bowl champ can take a joke, anybody can. So I think it's a great lesson for everyone else in sports, even if you're in high school sport. Like, anybody should be able to not take themselves so seriously. And the fact that he's doing this, I really admire the fact that he's showing the world that he has thick skin, he can take a joke, and he's like, bring it, whatever, whoever, I'm ready. So to be that made and be able to take the pads off and the helmet off and just go, what do you guys got? To me, really, really puts him on a level that no one else is on.
Fantastic. I think
it's going to be great. Live on Netflix, May 5th.
Netflix is a joke festival.
It's going to be one of those. It's called The Groats, greatest roast of all time, and I have a feeling it's going to live up to that.
Oh my God, I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
You coming?
Yeah.
All right.
I'll sit on the dais. Rich can sit in the audience. That'd be great. Can you imagine? He would pass out. It'd be so great. I'm sure he's hit you up 7 or 8 times. All right, let's just promote Ricky Stanicky, Hysterical, coming out on Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Yep. Can't wait for that.
I think it's March 7th.
March 7th. Saw it. It's fantastic. I laughed the whole time. And you steal the movie.
Thank you. Wow.
Take a banana for a ride. I didn't understand what it was. And now that I do, I love it even more.
Susie, you're going to love this show. I want you to come. I'm doing it in L.A. For the Netflix Comedy Festival. I think that's May
9th.
Yeah.
At the Masonic Lodge. I'll be there.
Yeah. At the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. It's going to be a fun one. And I'm in my old stomping grounds of Jersey and Connecticut next week. Then I'm hitting Austin for the Moon Tower Comedy Festival. I'm going to do a 3-night run of the show there.
Then North and South Carolina in June. We'll post all the dates.
I really appreciate that. This means so much to me. Thank you for letting me talk about the show and everything.
It's so great. Jeffrey Ross joining us here on The Rich Eisen Show.
Say hi to the fam, babe.
I will, and to Nipsey.
Yeah.
Catch The Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.